Yvonne, thank you so much for coming today.
You're more than welcome.
It's wonderful to get this opportunity. I know you have a busy schedule, but to give us time, to talk to you and get to know you and what you've been doing for the community. So I'm going to start with the first question. Who is Yvonne and what do you do?
And it sounds such an easy question.
I know.
So the journey started about 2015. Who am I? So my name's Yvonne Richards. It's now Richards Cooper, but I'll explain that shortly as well. I currently work for George House Trust, which is a charity that supports people living with HIV. And it's not just the living, but it's understanding the medication, managing the discrimination and managing the stigma as well. And the reason I'm really passionate about supporting George House Trust and currently working as their Women's Activity Officer is because I'm also living with HIV, and from 2015 until present, it was about how I managed to cope and to live well and now to thrive with HIV, which I think most people don't think you can do. But because I'm doing it, because I've received the support and the information, I wanted to do a broadcast with you to say to people that it is possible and that we should strive for that, and that we should also encourage our communities to get a better understanding so that anyone living with HIV can thrive rather than hide.
Wow, amazing, Yvonne. Thank you so much. So what inspired you to be a positive speaker?
Oh my goodness, yeah, because that's one of the things that I've done. So when I got my second diagnosis, in all honesty, in 2015, I was really, really ill and in hospital. The doctors were not sure what was happening to me, and they gave me two choices. They said, we don't understand what's going on with your body, and you're either HIV positive or you have cancer. And I think I had a moment where I said to myself, I am going to have to face what is going on. Now, given a choice of cancer and HIV, I thought, let it be, Lord, the HIV. Let me be able to manage
This condition.
And so I tested. They said I was positive, and from there the journey began, because the easiest bit, if there's an easy, I was really ill, but it took 6 weeks from me taking the medication for me to go from not being able to walk to getting up and walking out of the hospital. 6 weeks on the medication, it's that good. But actually the bigger journey was coming to terms with the diagnosis. I think my mental health did crash. I was really struggling. It's not a diagnosis that most of us want. We would have rather the cancer. I had to come to terms with the diagnosis, but also the fear. I was terrified, what are people going to say? What will happen when people find out? But it was by going to George House Trust that I found a group of people, some living with and some without. But they were so welcoming and understanding, and it's sitting in a space of other people living with HIV from a multitude of backgrounds. So there were a lot of stereotypes in my own mind that I had to manage, but the most important thing was the amount of compassion I got from people, and they started to teach me to accept myself again and to push back on the stereotypes that I'd absorbed about being human, about being worthy, about being loved. And there are so many of us struggling with that, with our HIV diagnosis.
Amazing. I hope you can hear us, guys. She spoke about George House Trust, which gave her support after diagnosis. So anyone living in Manchester, there's a place called George House Trust which support people who are living with HIV. So if ever you know someone who's struggling, just refer them to George House Trust.
Absolutely important.
Yes.
I think also if you find out a friend or family member is HIV positive and you want to support them, you can contact George House Trust as well, and they can give you lots of information about what HIV isn't. They can talk to you about the difference between HIV and AIDS. A lot of people still don't understand the difference. They can talk to you about the medication. Importantly, for the person living with HIV, they can talk to you about how to take control of your life and start living confidently. Believe it or not, they actually have to do living HIV confident courses because it's like a wrecking ball in your life. It does knock it out. Massive.
Wow. Yeah, it's right there, just near Piccadilly train stations, for those who want to know where it is. Just near Manchester Piccadilly train station. We're going to go on to the next question, because I know you've covered some of the things, but it's obviously a big issue. What can you say about the stigma that still surround sexual health and HIV?
Huge. Since 2015, I haven't stopped talking about HIV, and then the work that I've done with BHA has really opened my mind. I knew it was there, but I didn't realise how closed as a community we are. People say we're very sexual, and I think that's a stereotype, but actually I find that we are very conservative. We don't talk about sex. Usually we don't talk about sex with our partners. We don't talk about pleasure. But we don't talk about it with our children. We don't talk about identity. And when it comes to HIV, that's a bigger taboo, because not only do you take in the shame that you have yourself about sex, but then you have the community then cast you out and make you feel the shame and push you out of the community for something that's very manageable now. So remember, I've said most of us are taking one tablet a day. Every day. And we have a thing in the HIV community, it should be known, called U equals U. And that is undetectable equals untransmittable. The science of that is the medication is so effective now that it suppresses the virus completely in my body. I cannot transmit the virus at all. So in terms of sexual partners, it's so good that I could have unprotected sex and not transmit.
I hope you can hear that, guys. That's very important information, because a lot of people, they still doubt. They're thinking that if I sleep with someone who's positive, I'll get the virus. So just listen to what Yvonne is saying. If ever you can't hear clearly, just let us know on the comments there.
The reason that's important is because there are couples where one person is HIV positive and the other isn't. And if you want children, then you're thinking, well, how can we do that? And there are ways around that. People are still having children. But the easiest way now is, as long as the person who's HIV positive is on medication consistently, because that's the key, consistently on medication, and their viral load is undetectable, you can have unprotected sex, and so you can have the healthy children that you want. So the message is, I cannot transmit, I can have children. So whether male or female, I can have children. If it were my partner who's HIV positive, he could have children. He'd be okay, he's undetectable. But also the message for someone who's HIV positive is, because we're undetectable, the medication is also protecting our immune system as well, so we don't get ill. The most important thing is to know your status, get on the medication, become undetectable, and then allow the healthcare providers to support you to keep you well. The great thing about being positive is that I'm always seeing my doctors once every 6 months. Some people it's only once a year, and once the medication is in the system with minimal to no side effects, we just get on with our life as normal. The thing that we're managing thereafter is the stigma and discrimination. But remember, undetectable equals untransmittable. So that means I cannot pass the virus to you. And in terms of working, I just get on with work.
Wow. And you've mentioned this thing before, the struggles after diagnosis, how you can tell family and friends or partners, but you've already mentioned some of it. because that's what makes people don't want to test. They're scared of how they will deal with it after, whether they will be accepted in their circle, in their community, whether people will look at them differently, that they've been promiscuous. You know, that's the mindset that people have, thinking, oh, you've done something, that's why you're like this. But that's
not true. It's one of the biggest eye openers. We all come in with visions or ideas about who can get it and who can't get it. I support a lot of women and men at George House Trust, and I can tell you now there is no certain type. So because you're gay doesn't mean that you are destined to get HIV, and you do not get HIV because you're gay. That's a myth. I am working with straight men, straight women, men who were married or women who were married in relationships. A lot of the time the women didn't know their partners had HIV. A lot of the time they're only finding out at the point they are pregnant and they are tested, and they're in shock because they're thinking, if I was married, this would protect me from HIV. It doesn't. No person can check another person 100% of the time. So one of the good things about BHA has been about going into communities and encouraging women and men, families, communities to get used to testing. If you don't know your partner's status when you get into a relationship, it is good for you to test, and better still as a couple if you can test. If as a community we can get used to talking about sexual health and what that means, good relationships, healthy relationships, and also about looking after our bodies. When we can look after our bodies and take control and ownership of what happens to it, it means that we protect ourselves, our partners and our communities, and we have children that are healthy, not only in their bodies, but also in their ability to look after themselves in good quality relationships. Because I think that was the thing that I learned the most about HIV. It was such a shock to my system.
Wow.
I never thought it would happen to me.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think in saying that, I never asked. The person who
That's what happens in the community. When I'm in the community, people say, oh, it's not for me. Oh, it's not for me. Oh, no. Some will even go to the extent that I'm not having sex. But you know, obviously, as an adult, there's a high chance that, but because they want to avoid all the subject about HIV, sexual health, I can't handle that.
Oh no, I think we should be going the opposite way, because once I got the diagnosis, I was frightened. And I struggled, and I went into denial, and emotionally I had a really difficult time. And when I say I was at George House Trust, it was the going there and being with people who accepted me and treated it as normal that I began to understand that I am normal. The fear starts going down, but in terms of coming to terms with it yourself and getting in control, the more you understand about HIV, it is just a virus that can be managed, and you can do that. But sexual health, the more I understand about pleasure, what works for me, what I do like, what I don't like, what are my expectations in a relationship, what do I want from a good partner for me. Once I understood all of those and had the confidence to communicate it back, I started choosing differently because I expected differently of myself. And I think it's a powerful message.
Yes.
The information is key to understanding HIV. I still have people who are quite open in saying they wouldn't sleep with me. My attitude is, I don't want to sleep with everyone, and if that's your choice, that's fine. I am making informed decisions about who I sleep with, the quality of relationship I like, and what I want. And I won't be ashamed of my HIV status. You can make a choice about what you want.
Exactly, yes.
So, for me, if you don't want to sleep with me or people like me, that is your choice. But there are people who are informed and who are saying yes, they will, because they understand the science, they have the information.
Because you.
Yeah. And then we decide whether we are compatible.
Exactly.
And if we are, we have a relationship.
Oh, amazing. And you know what? That brings me to the next question, because it talks about what keeps an HIV positive person healthy. When I was growing up in Africa, people with HIV, they were really sick.
Yes.
And I started to think like, okay, the medication has become available, but what about the diet? What if you are in a poor setting and you can't afford healthy food? But you still got the medication. So how is it going to work? Is it when we start seeing signs on the outside? You know how we're so judgmental that, oh, this person looks ill. So like my question says, what keeps an HIV positive person healthy? Is it acceptance as a person, like what you said before, that you have to first accept that this is it and I'm going to be well? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, choose to be well. Take your medication and choose to live well. And then is it support from family? Because some people have good support with family and good mental health as well. Like you mentioned it before as well.
Sure.
Yes, and how
all
you
of those.
Yes, yeah.
And I think the difference between me and I know that I'm blessed is that I'm here, so my access to food, good food and choice of food is unlimited. So there are some HIV medications that need to be taken with food and some that do not need to be taken with food. I can speak for the UK. If taking medication with food is an issue, maybe because you're working long hours, running around, your lunch breaks aren't settled, or you've got a busy life, have that discussion with the clinical team, the team of doctors that work with you. In this country, they will discuss that and choose medication that you can take without food.
Okay.
If they ask you to take medication with food, it's because the powerful medication needs to dissolve slowly in your stomach with food breakdown and then be absorbed into your system. If you have medication that needs to be taken with food and you are struggling, you need to get support. George House Trust actually runs a food bank so that people can go because they know how important it is. But also if it's an issue that you don't have easy access to food, but you are on medication, have that conversation again with your your clinical team, but have the conversation again. And then Faith, you're right. I live well because I understand what the medication is doing. I understand that I've got a supportive medical team. I've got supportive family and friends. I didn't have that. I did lose friends, did lose family. And I walked away from the church because I was so afraid and I felt rejected by God. But all of that has turned around. And I do believe if you can get the support of a member of church, if you go to church, then that's fine. But it's whatever works for you. So any mental support that you can get, emotional
in your
support,
local community, yes.
Even if that means joining George House Trust and come to we're a very, very diverse group of people, and I would say come to learn and to find a space where you make friends. A lot of women, a lot of the men that come there have been, as I've said, kept out of the community, or they're afraid to talk to their community. But at George House Trust, we're very supportive. It's a safe space. But where you can, the key thing is supported medical team, supportive mental health team, or friends, family, emotional support, physical support. And when you have that group or those groups around you, you have a greater chance of accepting yourself and living well.
Wow, that's amazing. So I know that some people might be listening, they're not from Manchester, but if you look in every town, there's some similar kind of thing where you get all this kind of support, most towns. And even in Africa, actually, there are organizations which are supporting people who live with HIV, and they give food packages to people I remember when I was in Africa, there was a place where they were giving maize meal and all that,
Yeah,
so that
'cause
to
there
make
are
sure that
HI
people,
yeah.
yes, yeah.
So do check
So
and look
yeah,
around.
I think Yvonne says something about how important it is to access those kind of organizations which support people who are living with the condition rather than being isolated.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very good to meet other people and get support. Yeah.
I know it's difficult though, Faye. So I'm not saying
some
it
people
is
want to
if
be
you're
isolated.
Yeah.
Some people just want it private. They feel like if you go out there, everyone will just know. It's not everyone.
That fear is real,
yes, yeah.
But it's having the courage to ask your medical team if you don't know, or if you don't want to ask your medical team, then check on the internet. Not every town in the UK has, but don't forget we have the Terence Higgins Trust. We've got Positively UK. We've got Positive East. So if you type in Google HIV support organisations, you'll find one as close to you as we can possibly get. And then we actually do, for those who register, we have online support groups. So if you can register with us, not every session, either at George House Trust or these other organisations, is not all of the meetings are face-to-face. Sometimes they're online. So that's another way as well.
Wow,
and there are HIV support organisations just in general on the net.
On the net, Okay, I hope you can hear all that, guys. So tell me about your new role of creating a women group at George House Trust.
Oh my God, that was a passion. So one of the things that happened to me was there was a lot of brilliant work going on at George House Trust. But as a woman, I found a lot of the information that I was getting was geared towards gay men. And those guys are brilliant because they've been incredibly open and supportive of me and helped me in my journey. But as a woman, all of us understand that we need to find our own tribe, if you like, people who are like you. And so I started looking for women and what the women's experience was like, and also trying to understand the medication as well. It's been trialled on men, and a lot of the times I found that some of the issues that I was experiencing weren't referenced anyway. So what I tried to do was to increase and grow the amount of women that were going to George House Trust. We weren't attending, not frequently, and not talking about the things that mattered to us. So I set up a women's group alongside Adela, who's the services advisor there. She was running the African women's group, and then supported me to open out the group so that more women felt comfortable to attend. And then I think after doing that for a couple of years, Adela and I merged the groups together. So it is just a women's group. And what we try to do is once a month, all the women come together. We socialise with everyone at George House Trust, but then we have time where we sit back and say, what is important to us? What do we want to do? How's HIV affecting our lives? How do we make it better? And that ended up with us running the Catwalk for Power. So I don't know whether you've heard.
Yes, I'm getting to that.
Yes, so we ran the Catwalk for Power in 2019. It evolved, and then on the 21st of October we ran our third event alongside Positively UK again. And that's about empowering women. But we've also done residentials. There is a lot of collaboration. We try writing pieces. If you go on the George House website, you will see more images and more articles about women. And the aim is really to challenge women to step up, ask questions, and advocate for better quality of life. So we're also peer mentoring, one-to-one. You can get support from another woman living with HIV. Gives you the opportunity then to talk emotionally on a one-to-one level and get someone to support. We have support groups. We're forever developing, but our aim is that. For me, my specialist area is women, but we are working with Jeff to also make sure that all men thrive as well with HIV. So it's
They're
not
not
just
left
about
out.
the girls. Yeah, we are trying not to leave anyone behind.
Oh, wonderful. Because my next question was saying, who can join this group of women? So is it just people who are living positive? Oh, okay, just okay.
So we don't exclude. So I said earlier that if someone had a partner, met someone for the first time who was HIV positive, and you were thinking, okay, I don't know how to manage it. Lots of information on HIV, and we can offer a session definitely to partners. Our focus is to support people living with HIV, so they're HIV positive, because of the stigma and the discrimination. And our role is, how can we help them come to terms with it and live better? It's not always easy, because usually people's lives are complicated. So you may have issues on immigration, you may have issue with housing, finance and work. And where George House Trust can, the services advisors work to help you to address those issues, as well as your HIV status, so that you live that life that you want.
Okay, wow, wonderful. My next question was, tell us about the Stepping Up event.
Oh, yeah. So, absolutely superb event. So I was saying to you that about 2 weeks ago, we had an event at the Whitworth. It's invited only, so that is to create a safe space for women to talk about their experiences. Yeah, we have before that 8 weeks where we have to almost go back in time with the women. Most women and most people with HIV don't like talking about it, because they're not confident about it because of the fear of rejection and the stigma. So one of the things we do is how to find your voice. What is your story? What do you want people to know? So there are 6 to 8 workshops. We talk about body confidence, and that includes things like sexual health. So it's the confidence to be able to talk to someone in a relationship. A lot of the time it's even just, how do I talk to someone about my HIV status? How do I manage the rejection if that happens? We also had a quilting workshop where we created a panel that was a nod to the men back in the 80s who created an HIV panel of those that had died. Our panel looked at our lives now, who we are, and the positive message we want to now put forward, because the medication has changed. We wanted the focus to be respectful to those who'd passed, but also a nod now almost to the future and saying, this is who we are, the lives we want. So after we'd finished doing the workshops, we got the women to do a dance. They practiced the dance, and then they put on their best outfits, because we wanted people to see us. To see confident women looking really, really well. And then we stepped out and we told our stories in front of families and friends and doctors, because we wanted people to see the journey from when it started and how they feel now. And we want people to understand that you don't die of HIV, you don't need to. People still struggle, but now we are taking our medication and our life expectancy is equal to anybody else. And we wanted people to see beautiful women dressed beautifully, with family, with friends, because the message is it's new dawn, it's a new day, we have new opportunities, and we are welcoming people into that space to respect us for who we are and to see the person first.
Amazing. It's a great event. I remember I've been there last year. It was wonderful. Women were looking beautiful, modeling, wearing nice gowns, and
good
the
food.
stories.
The
stories were amazing. How it started, how it ended, getting good support. So is there anything else you want to add on before I go on to this? Someone sent out questions.
There were questions. No, my biggest issue is, if you are afraid of HIV, if you do not understand AIDS, get the information. There is lots of good information out there. Avoid kind of dodgy information. George House Trust provides lots of good information.
Resources,
Terence Higgins Trust, Positively UK, Positive East, great organisations that offer good information. The NAT website, NAM website, we can put those into the links afterwards so that you can understand the difference between HIV and AIDS. They are different. Briefly, AIDS is what happens to you after you acquire the virus. HIV is the virus. AIDS is the symptoms you get when your immune system completely breaks down. The message we're sending is your body does not have to break down. You do not have to acquire AIDS. Acquire the virus, but know that you can live a long and healthy life. But the only way that happens is test regularly and then adhere to your medication. Adhering means staying on the medication the way the doctors have prescribed. And if you have issues with your medication, talk to the medical team. I go out to doctors now and I talk to them about the experiences people have had who are HIV positive. So we're always fighting to make sure that people get the best health care they can. So again, the fight is about living, understanding your status and then living well with HIV rather than
managing
in
your
fear.
condition.
Yeah, manage.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Yvonne. I'm just gonna go into the question before we finish our interview.
That is fine.
Someone sent in and said, I'm a 42-year-old woman in Zimbabwe living with the condition for 6 years.
Okay.
Why is it when you're on meds you tend to be so tired, having no strength as before?
Okay, that might be a medication issue.
Okay.
And it may be also a lifestyle issue. So when I first went on medication, just my body getting used to it was an issue that can take time. If that persists, I would suggest that you contact your medical team and have a chat. They may be able to to switch the medication if you say you're long-term tired. Now, all the advice I'm giving is based on my experience in the UK. I can't speak for what it's like in Zimbabwe.
Whether maybe she works a lot or something.
Yeah, so you check your diet. What you can do for yourself, do for yourself. So check your diet. Is your food supporting you? Are you getting enough sleep? Because you may be tired because of a lack of sleep. Check for other underlying medical conditions that you may have. But also, it's okay to talk to the medical team and express that I'm really
see
tired.
what they can do for you.
Yeah, for me, I'm nearly 60 and the menopause has come. That created a lot of tiredness for me, and I had to start looking at all these different things that may have been affecting me. So I'd say to the woman in Zimbabwe, 42, possibly the menopause, but also check your food, your lifestyle. Are you all of us as women overworked and tired, but have the conversation with your GP or your specialist team. If it's an issue with the HIV medication, have a conversation and they will advise.
Wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your answer.
No, you're
and
welcome.
Then they say as a person who's in this situation, it's so difficult to find a partner or disclose. So some people experience stigma, but then I think from what you said is people need to learn education about more education about the condition U+U, because if more people know exactly how it goes, they will know that it is safe and they will not stigmatize these people, because the girl will be feeling like I have to disclose. The person with the condition feel like I have to tell my partner because I don't want them to say tomorrow, oh, you didn't let me know. But then when you do that, sometimes
they will disappear.
Yeah. So it creates like a feeling of rejection because you keep on trying, and then the result is the same. Meet nice guys, or if you're a man, meet nice girls. But once the moment you disclose,
not all.
So not all, you see. So, but those people who are accepting is because they've probably researched and they know how it goes. So I should say people shouldn't close off this subject. They should learn and find information, know about the condition. If you meet someone and you love them and you like them and they've got that condition, go and see support or any organization. Yes,
so I'll reel back. The reason why we have the support group at George House Trust is because there are those of us who've done all of that. You can imagine all of this hard work. You've learned to accept yourself. You're talking about it now. You want to step out into the world now. And all of us want relationships.
Yes, yeah.
It is still a massive stumbling block for all of us. So it is something that I prepare the ladies for, because they're always saying, it is our biggest fear is what happens when I start talking to family, friends, and then I want a close relationship. So it's almost like I buddy up, or we buddy up, and we sit down as a sisterhood and we talk to each other. What are your strengths? Remember what you bring to the relationship. Remember you are a good person. It doesn't stop it from being scary.
Exactly, yes,
but we say to them, okay, if you are interested in someone, try. We've had cases where women have been knocked back by men. I don't want to have a relationship, and they'll come back heartbroken. But the role of the sisterhood, the role of the support group is to support each other emotionally and say, one person's no is not a reflection of who you are. And if we were out in life, we would be going out meeting people who would also say no to us, whether we were HIV positive or not.
Definitely, yeah.
That one no isn't a reflection of you. You build yourself back up again and you go out. Don't compromise who you are, though, because I know some of us have started, well, I'll be grateful if somebody goes into a relationship with, I'll be great if someone takes me on board. And
don't be too desperate.
Yeah, no, because we've had cases where the men have been abusive and the women are accepting it because they think that's
no one will accept, no one else will accept me.
No, the answer is no to that.
Because the men, some men will start saying, I was the only one who felt sorry for you. I'm the only one who took you in.
I say
there's no other person who will love you.
We have lots of relationships where one person is positive and one person is negative. Having good relationships, good standards for both parties, and as I've said, and we are having children who are healthy. No HIV. It is possible to have babies with no HIV. I understand in the 80s the devastation that HIV caused in communities, but in the 40 years there's been so much progress and things have changed. If you are a man who meets a woman, or if you're a woman who meets a man and they say they are HIV positive, it is possible to say, I need more information, or give me time to understand and get that information. Other things some couples do, is they will go to the clinic with the HIV positive person, and the consultant will talk to that person. So if you want to hear it from a medical professional and you are keen on that relationship, you're taking it seriously, you want to move forward, but hear it from somebody else, then go ask if you can go to speak to the medical profession and hear how effective the medication is and how the U equals U, because some people say, well, you could be saying anything, but a medical profession won't. But get the information.
Information is key, guys.
Definitely.
Oh, thank you so much, Yvonne. It's been nice. Lots of learning, lots of stuff that you mentioned that are very essential to anyone who wants to know about the condition. And really appreciate it, guys. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.